Hi Travel Bees, welcome back and thank you so much for tuning in for another week. And I'm very excited to bring up this topic because I think it's a topic that a lot of people have a connection to. It is fear of traveling. And I completely understand why people would, fear something that they've never done before or something that they're unsure about or they don't have all of the facts for. And that's very understandable, but at the same time, if you don't go out there and see these things, then you may never get to, well, you won't get to if you don't go out there and try and experience them. So to help you guys with this topic this week, I've brought on a special guest. Her name is Lily, and she's gonna help us kind of get to the bottom and the root of these things. And we're gonna do that by kind of a Q&A. She's gonna give me some of her biggest fears and just some of the things that she feels is holding her back from traveling. And then I'm going to answer those questions and or fears and help her debunk, what that might be about. So I'm excited. Thank you, Lily, for being here. Hi guys, I'm Lily, and Lucy has had me come on today to kind of just share some of my reservations about traveling. And quite honestly, I'm pretty scared. I don't know about you guys, but I have a lot of reservations when it comes to traveling. I really don't know where to start, and I'm gonna share some of my reservations that I have. Maybe you guys have the same ones, and hopefully she'll be able to answer all of them and give me a better idea of what I am to expect if I ever did decide to travel. So thanks for having me on, Lucy. Thanks so much for being here, Lily. I'm sure that everybody is very thankful that you're here with us today. So go ahead and tell me, what is your biggest fear with traveling? So my biggest thing is I've always believed that traveling costs a lot. I mean, it always seems really expensive. I completely understand that, yes, a lot of people feel that it costs too much, but it really just depends on how you manage your money and making sure that you're planning appropriately for those trips. Now, you can always travel on a budget, and a lot of people think that you have to, spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on hotel stays or, food, what accommodations, whatever it might be, but what a lot of people don't realize is that it is sometimes cheaper to get a plane ticket to Europe than it is to the Midwest here in the US. So it's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, sometimes you can get round trip tickets to Europe for $400, $500, which isn't bad round trip. It's about how much you're gonna pay to get out to Idaho or something like that. Actually, I know friends that have paid $700, $800 round trip to get out to the Northeast. So I think that as long as you budget accordingly, there's many ways to save money and make your trip cost effective. You just have to look into them. You can stay at hostels instead of hotels. That will save you a big chunk of change. You can, you can buy groceries when you're out at different places rather than, eating out every single night. There's so many different ways to be able to save money. Okay, so it doesn't cost as much as I might have thought, but I am worried about spending too much money, and is it even going to be worth my money to be able to travel? I mean, I don't know what I'm getting out of my money. I've never done it before. What about that? So spending too much money on your trips, absolutely. Well, you can create a budget for yourself and make sure that you stick to that budget, like setting a budget for $50 a day or whatever it might be, or $100 a day, including your hostel stay, which is very doable. There are some hostels that only cost $20 a night or $10, $15 a night, and then you can have the rest of that money to be able to spend on food or whatever it might be and going out and enjoying yourself for that day. So it really just depends on making sure that you set a budget that is realistic for yourself. About your point, is it worth it? Absolutely, it's worth it, because guess what? On these trips, you're going to be making memories that are going to stay with you for the rest of your life. You're never going to regret it. You're going to learn something, you're going to take value from it no matter where you go, and it's absolutely invaluable. I swear, once you start traveling, you're not gonna stop because you're just gonna keep thinking about the next place and the next place, and it's life-changing. It's really a great way to just expand your knowledge of the world in a very unique way. I mean, rather than reading about it in textbooks, wouldn't you rather go out there and experience it? Okay, so I have a mortgage and bills, and I have things I have to pay. So how am I don't have a budget to be able to, just spend on leisure travel. I don't really have the means to be able to do that. So what do I do about that? So mortgage and bills. That's a great point to bring up too. I mean, everybody has bills, right? And we all have to make sure that we're paying those, absolutely. But you need to set aside that budget for yourself. If you want to travel, sometimes people take a whole year to budget themselves so that they can take that 2-week vacation or whatever it might be and make sure that they can afford it. You want to make sure that you can afford your bills, but at the same time, you spend 1/3 of your life working, okay? So you need to find whatever's going to prioritize your time and make your life enjoyable. It's proven that when you go on vacation and when you spend time traveling and like enjoying yourself, you're gonna feel more fulfilled. Because even if you love your job, and I absolutely love my job, but even when I love my job or you love your job, you need to be apart from that and you need to enjoy yourself on a level that is just personal, just for you, that doesn't have to do with whatever someone else's goals might be in regards to work. And it's so important to just put that self-care and love into yourself. So just budgeting for it and planning for it, you know, it's something that we all have to do. We all have to plan to give ourselves that time. I also don't have a lot of time. So I don't know. I don't really travel that much because I don't have a lot of time to be able to do it. My job doesn't offer me 2 weeks off each year, like, you know, some people. So what am I supposed to do about that? You bring up another great point. You don't have a lot of time, right? So you may not get those 2 weeks paid vacation that some people might get, but that shouldn't keep you from traveling. I haven't had 2 weeks off or even a week off since my backpacking trip in 2018. So it's been almost 2 years. And I was very much itching to go on a trip, and I was supposed to go in April to Budapest, but of course we have the coronavirus and I wasn't able to, but that's a whole nother thing. And I'm actually glad, you know, it made me give time into this channel and everything like that and be able to share these tips with you guys. You know, just because I hadn't had a week off doesn't mean I haven't taken weekend trips. I've actually taken a multitude of weekend trips in the last 2 years. I've taken weekend trips to Portland, Oregon, Colorado, Chicago, Georgia. You know, I have found time on like extended weekends during, you know, holidays or whatever it might be, just to be able, so I can still go out there and travel and see new places. But I wasn't able to take a whole week off, and maybe I just took 1 day off during a 3-day weekend. So, you know, there are ways around it, and you can find different specials and kind of plan for it. And especially having a flexible schedule will help you. If you have most weekends off, then you can plan ahead and be like, okay, well, this weekend I have a 3-day weekend, or I'm gonna take my Friday off and have a 3-day weekend, leave Thursday night, fly back Sunday. You can see some places locally in the US doing that, and it will kind of give you that break away from the normalcy of everything that's going on in your life, whether you do whatever you might do on the weekends, you know, here. And then you might be able to do those mini trips while you're waiting to be able to afford to take off a week from work. So my family says that I shouldn't travel because it's dangerous and I don't want to feel unsafe in a country that I've never been to before. So what about that? You bring up a great point when you're bringing up your family. Yes, your family is important, but you cannot let your family hold you back, because at the end of the day, you're living on your own and your family shouldn't be dictating what you're doing. My family, you know, was very supportive of me going to Europe. Of course, they were afraid because I'd never been over there, and I had, but they were just afraid of the unknown, right? We're all afraid of the unknown, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's something I wanted to do, so I did it. And when it comes to safety, oh my gosh, I'm glad you brought up that point. Safety is important, right? But bad things can happen anywhere, and you have to be smart no matter where you are. That could be in Chicago or, you know, Miami or whatever it might be. But what I will say is that in Europe, the safety over there is actually a lot better than what we would expect it to be, because all we hear on the news all day is all these bad things, right? So we hear all these bad things happening, and we don't usually hear about other countries. We usually only hear about our own country. So when something bad happens in another country and it's bad enough for it to make global news, and that's all that we hear about, right? And then we're like, oh, you know, they just had this and this and this happen. But really, you know, it's not very often that something really bad happens, and it's actually safer over there in their cities than it is in some of our cities here in the US. So that should definitely not be a factor. As long as you are smart, as long as you use common sense, you will be absolutely fine. I promise you. How about the fact that I don't know the language of these other countries? Like, I don't know French, I don't know German. How am I supposed to be able to travel around these places that I don't even know their language? All I know is English. English is pretty common, especially in Europe. You are going to find that almost everyone speaks English. Whenever I'm in another country, I do try to like keep a translator around just in case. I try to learn like a couple of key words in another country just to make sure that they know, like I can be like, oh, you know, hey, do you speak English? And I can say that in their language. Like I'll just Google it really quick, right? With Google Translate. But a lot of people speak English over there, and all of the places that you'll stay, whether it's hotels, hostels, whatever it might be, they're going to speak English because English is a very well-known language around the world, and they teach their youth over there English at a very young age. So you shouldn't be worried about that at all. It's very easy to get around and you'll be able to find your way. So I've never traveled before. I'm quite honestly pretty scared. I don't know what to expect when traveling. So what am I supposed to do about being scared? I completely understand being scared and not knowing what to expect, but at the end of the day, we really just have to put ourselves out there, you know? Change and fear, when we confront those feelings, that's when we actually grow the most. And we can't live a life in fear. If we did that, then we wouldn't do anything. If you don't travel now, if you don't ever get out there, I mean, you can do that, but you're still going to be fearful, and there's always going to be something to fear out there, but you have to be the one to stand your ground and be like, you know, I'm not going to let this control my life, because you could miss out on so many things if you decide that you just want to let fear control you. Every day we are going through little changes that are affecting our daily lives, but we don't even know it. And when we hear of these big changes or big things that might affect our lives, sometimes we get so bogged down by it that we let it dictate what our decision is going to be. But every day we're going through change, and life is going to go on with or without us. So I think it's very important to just live your life like it's your last day on earth, because if you really want to go there and you really want to see these new places, you should do it. Absolutely, just do it. Okay, well, I've never flown on a plane before, so that's another really big thing, is like I'm afraid of planes, and I don't know, like I don't know what to expect, but I don't like flying. It's never been something I've been crazy about. That's a good point too. Some people are afraid of it, and that's completely understandable. But again, with the whole fear thing that I just went over, you know, you can't let it stop you. There are other options. If you really want, you could do a cruise. If you like cruises and you like boats, then you could take a cruise over to Europe and kind of see places that way if you want to start off that way. But plane rides really aren't that bad. And the ones that are international, that are going overseas, are huge planes that carry tons of passengers. You barely know you're on a plane because it's barely like moving. It's like being on a huge cruise ship. Sometimes you don't even know that you're moving. It's honestly really not that bad. Pretty comfortable seating. People do it all the time. They really try to make it as comfortable as possible, especially if you're flying with one of those bigger airlines. So I've never traveled before. What if I can't find someone to travel with me? I don't want to travel alone. Again, that would be really scary. So what am I supposed to do about that? Have you ever traveled alone? Like, what does that look like? I'm glad you brought up that point too, because traveling alone is actually one of the best things that I have ever done. Honestly, I'm a very social person, so I love being around my friends. Being around my friends is amazing, but sometimes you really have to find a very specific person to travel with, and if you don't get along with that person very well to where you're going to be with them every single day, sometimes it can kind of hold you back from doing the things you really want to do because you have to get someone else's approval. So don't let traveling alone make you decide whether that's what you're going to do or not. I mean, if you want your first time, if you've never been anywhere else and you want your first time to be with a friend, absolutely do that. Do whatever's going to make you more comfortable. But never let the fact of traveling alone stop you from going somewhere, because I did my first solo trip to Portland, Oregon, and I thought I was going to go crazy. I was like really scared because I'm a socialite. I love talking to people. I like being around people. And I went to a hostel in Portland, ended up meeting some awesome people, but I found that I wanted the free time to myself and that I wanted to be alone and I wanted to make my own schedule because it was like my time. It was like, I can do whatever I want without having to get permission from someone else. Like, hey, do you want to do this too? And I was like, no, it felt so freeing to be like, I can do whatever I want. It's all up to me. And so it was just an amazing feeling. And if you haven't traveled alone and you have traveled before, I highly recommend it. It is such a freeing moment, and you can start small. You could just go somewhere nearby or whatever it might be, or maybe another state, and just go from there. In April, I was supposed to go to Budapest, and I was going to do that by myself. And I was really excited for that because that was going to be my first international trip alone, but it's still going to happen, don't worry. So I have kids. What am I supposed to do about my kids? They're kind of a lot to handle, and I don't know if they would even really appreciate travel. I don't have kids myself, so I can't fully speak on that, but I just want to say that you should never let kids hold you back. You can always find a babysitter, or you can bring your kids with you if they're old enough to be able to travel pretty easily. I know that they can be a lot, but honestly, you're going to give value to them. If you make traveling a part of their lives, they're going to value it, and they're going to pass it along in their own lives, and you're going to be able to show them all of the things that you've learned. It's a great experience for them. It will make them more cultured. It will make them more open to the world, and they'll be able to talk about it. They'll be cooler or whatever because you brought them on these trips. And I actually got a great idea from someone when I was traveling, and they said that when they have kids, they're going to start doing yearly trips with them, and that instead of Christmas gifts, they're going to give them, okay, this is where we're going this year type of like voucher or whatever. And then that would be their Christmas gift. And then you're getting family time together, and you guys get to see the world. And you know, you can even make it fun for the kids. So I think involving the kids is a great way to, you know, get your kids out there and get them out of, you know, social media and out of all of these little things that are like controlling their lives every day, and they're not seeing the world. Kids play less outside nowadays. So get them outside, get them seeing the world, and it will change their life. I think it's an amazing thing to include your kids. What if I miss my home while I'm gone? I don't want to just leave my home. I mean, this is where I love and where I live. What if I get homesick? I completely get missing home, and you know, that might be for some. It took me honestly 4 months away from here to like finally miss it, but I know that might be different for some. If you are worried about that, then take short weekend trips to begin with and see how you feel not being here all the time. And you can take it slowly at a time, you know, start with weekend trips and then go to a week and then maybe go to 2 weeks. You know, there's so much that you can do to just try and ease into the fact of being away from home, which is understandable. It's where your comfort zone is, but I swear when you get out of your comfort zone, you're going to love what you find, because it's going to only make you grow as a person more, and you'll learn a lot about yourself. So you've had a lot of really great answers, but I still have a lot of student loan debt. And honestly, I don't know if I feel comfortable with traveling when I have all of this debt that I need to pay. What do you suggest for that? I think that that's another great aspect to bring in, student loan debt. I have student loan debt, but you should never let that dictate your whole life. You'll be paying your student debt for a long time, and if you make yourself wait 30 years or whatever it might be, you are losing precious time. There is no guarantee in this life. There is no guarantee we are going to live to tomorrow, or 10 years from now, or 50 years from now. So why wait? Make a budget. Make sure that you're paying your student loan debt, but don't let it control your life, and don't let it dictate what you do now to enjoy your life and make sure that you're feeling fulfilled. Because at the end of the day, this is your life, and your experiences are the only thing that are intangible that nobody can take from you. You can have materialistic things all day. You can have a phone, you can have a computer, you can have a house, you can have all this, but your memories are going to be with you forever. If that house burns down, you have your memories of that house still. So I cannot harp on that enough. And that's what I have to say about that. Okay, wow. Those are some really great tips. I definitely feel better about traveling now, and I may look into it. There have been a couple of places on my bucket list, but I just really never thought it was doable, so I just didn't. But you've kind of made that apparent that it's really not that hard. Thank you so much for answering my questions and my concerns, because I've really gotten a better idea of travel. And I appreciate you traveling, Lucy. And I think you guys should take this advice. I mean, I would have never thought that all of these things were possible. I mean, you saw how many questions that I had and how many concerns I had, but it looks like it's pretty doable. Get out there and travel. Thank you so much for giving us those insights, Lily. It was honestly, I think it was very eye-opening for a lot of people, and those are very valid things that a lot of people have in common with you. So thank you for those tips. It is extremely doable, and I'm glad that I can help you take another step in the direction of possibly traveling, because it's just amazing. To all of you guys that are watching out there, thank you so much. I hope that you truly enjoyed this video, and if you have more questions or more concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I will absolutely get back to you. If you need any advice at all on anything, just feel free to reach out to me. I am always available for you guys, and I want to help you get out there and see the world. So please, if you liked this video, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my page, and I would love to see you guys get out there, share your stories with me. That's my favorite thing, is to hear your stories out there. Thank you guys for joining me for another week. In case you were joining for the first time, know that I post new videos every Sunday at 12 p.m. and I also have a travel tip Tuesday every Tuesday that has guests who come on in the travel industry that are telling you about what's going on during COVID-19 and what travel is going to be looking like in the next few months or so. So I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your weekend, and I will see you travel bees next week. Bye!